Hey guys, welcome to Wrench to Drive. This is my new project, the Super Honcho. This is a bit of a hybrid crawler, guys, a little Frankenstein jobby. It's part TRX-4, part Redcat Gen 8, part cheapo body shell with a 3D printed back half. And off we go. So this is the first crawl, guys, and just doing a little tooling around some familiar grounds. And I have to say, guys, after this crawl, I was pretty happy. This thing is sweet, super sweet. It is the most capable crawler I have by a mile. There's times when it doesn't look a whole lot better, guys. Right now it's kind of high centered, but that little mountain it's high centered on is pretty tall and jaggedy there, guys. And everything else I have would have definitely had some issues in that same situation. So keep that in mind when you're watching this. Like, anything that's given this trouble gives everything else a lot more trouble. One thing I would like to make clear, the Redcat Gen 8 is a really good crawler. And basically the only reason that this is better is because that Scout 2 body is kind of a big, what would you call it? Like a full body SUV type body shell. So it's got kind of a long back end sticking out, and it's kind of heavy, and you know, it crawls really well. It's super capable. When you change the body shell and turn it into a honcho, I'd say it's basically on par with this. Very similar, guys, just to be fair. This is a little bit better because of the 2-speed gearbox, guys, because this is a TRX-4 chassis with the 2-speed TRX-4 gearbox and the Redcat Gen 8 axles. And that 2-speed gearbox, if you're into that sort of thing, guys, it's pretty sweet. When you knock it into low gear, this thing will climb a tree. And then when you pop it up into high gear, you know, you got more wheel speed and a little more versatility. It's nice, guys. I was not 100% sure what I would think of it. I'm a mechanical nerd, so a 2-speed gearbox sounded pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty sweet, guys. It makes for a very fun crawling experience. As you can see here, it cruises along really nicely, guys. And I'm just doing a few laps here, playing with it a little bit, trying to get a feel for it. It's super capable, guys, super capable. It makes short work of pretty much everything I can throw at it. You can see it'll dig itself into a hole every once in a while. That's pretty much any crawler. And this ground is pretty loose right now, so it is what it is. And that pointy bit of dirt there is pretty tall, guys. This thing has some serious ground clearance, so it's the better part of 3 inches underneath the skid plate in the middle there. So it takes a pretty good lump to get it stuck, but that lump there is up to it, I guess. The articulation is pretty good, guys. The one weakness on this truck right now is actually the front end. I think it could be a little bit better, and if you watch the build video, you'll see that that's the part where I had to do a little bit of tweaking and modifying, and I had to alter one of the links, and the panhard bar is a little bit off, and the servo horn isn't a proper servo horn for the TRX-4. So the front end is not quite perfect, guys, and I'm actually really curious to see, because I've never actually driven a TRX-4, and I'm not quite sure if the actual TRX-4 is much better or not. Watching videos, it's kind of hard to tell. So this here, you can see the difference in first gear compared to second gear. Really geared down now. This terrain's not that tough for this truck, so obviously it's not having any trouble, but been on this terrain with a lot of different vehicles lately. I've had the Redcat with cheap Chinese metal axles without the portals on them, so much less ground clearance, and it handles this stuff reasonably well. Not as well, obviously. Had the 12428 crawler conversion project out on this, and it did really well, all things considered, guys. I mean, that truck is nowhere near the level of technology as this, and you know, it handled it pretty well too. So, you know, any crawler that's worth its salt can do all right, guys. But this thing is definitely really impressive. For what it's worth, guys, I think one of the things that the crawler makers have kind of missed out on is limited slip axles, guys, because my little 12428 crawler conversion project, where I cut up some foam earplugs and put them in the diffs so they're semi-locked. That thing actually is really capable, guys, especially considering it's not portal axles. It's, you know, it's just plain old axles, nothing to get excited about. You know, it gets up and down a lot of stuff. I'm actually really curious. I would love to try not fully locked diffs in a set of portal axles, because the one nice thing about your diffs not being fully locked up is that you're much less likely to do damage. You know, locked diffs are hard on drive shafts. They're, you know, they load up the suspension pretty dramatically at times. You know, it's you get performance, but you also, there's a price to be paid there. And drive shafts are expensive, and I don't know. I'm really curious. It's something I'm gonna do a little bit of poking around over the winter and see if it's something a guy can test out and take a kick at it. And, you know, maybe that's an interesting innovation down the road. But anyways, as you can see, this thing is super capable. These axles have held up really well, guys. These are the Redcat axles, as I mentioned, and I've had no troubles whatsoever. I ordered the heavy-duty housings because they were $20 to my door, 20 Canadian dollars to my door when I ordered them. Couldn't go wrong. It seemed like I'd be crazy not to. And there seemed to be a fair number of posts of people complaining about the durability of the axles, and I don't know. Mine have held up fine, guys. And I mean, have I done any, you know, a lot of super hardcore crawling? I mean, I would say no. This is probably the most hardcore treatment they've gotten, but you know, I haven't broken anything, haven't had anything resembling a problem, so I have nothing bad to say. But one of these days I'll probably switch over to those heavy duty housings just to try to make sure nothing breaks. Yeah, in this configuration, it's pretty sweet. Lots of ground clearance, as you can see. Those pumpkins don't really get smashed much. Some of this stuff, you know, a standard SCX-10 with those old style axles with the big pumpkins would have a lot of trouble in this little area. I mean, this is making it look stupidly easy, guys, but that's down to those axles having a ton of clearance, and you know, the truck in general having ground clearance out the wazoo. The one thing that this truck, I think, has an advantage over the Redcat is a lower center of gravity, because it's running the Traxxas gearbox where the motor is mounted quite low and to the center of the truck. And the Redcat runs the divorced transfer case, where it's got a transfer case in the middle and the motor up front and a little bit higher. And this does seem to have a lower center of gravity, guys, even though I think the center section is slightly higher overall. The overall center of gravity does seem to be a little bit lower because the motor is placed, you know, way far down. Here I'm just looking for a line, guys. I'm trying to get the tire right on top of that peak and failing miserably. There we go. That's what I was after. And as you can see, once you get those tires placed right, no problems. This terrain actually really makes these dirt cheap Injora Super Swampers look good, guys. They perform super well on these jaggedy type rocks. The next video out is some more familiar terrain with some kind of washed river rock that I like to go crawling on, and when you see that video, you'll see that these tires are the weakness in that video, guys. Spoiler alert, it has some troubles, guys. It doesn't do as well as I thought it would, and it's pretty much 100% down to the fact that these tires struggle for grip on stuff like washed river rock. Nice jaggedy rock like this stuff, they grip like there's no tomorrow, guys. You know, as you would probably expect, but you know, in this stuff there's absolutely no issues with traction, whereas on that washed rock that you'll see in the next video, it's a problem, guys. There's essentially there's a lot of wasted money if you're running an expensive crawler on rocks that are super slick and don't offer a lot of traction, because a much less expensive crawler does just as well. And you know, that's an area where if you spend some more money on tires, you'd probably get a lot better performance out of a cheap crawler. I've always been skeptical of expensive tires, guys, because you know, I've only run the stock Redcat ones and these Injora Super Swampers that are just dirt cheap, 25 bucks a set on Amazon, guys. And I don't know, I'm skeptical because they're nice and soft. They got great big lugs. They seem like decent tires, and they're dirt cheap, guys. Like, I cannot justify spending double or triple the money on another set of tires unless I know that they're actually going to work well. I mean, to each their own, guys. You know, do what you want to do. I'm not judging or anything, but for me, it's I don't like spending money for no reason. And these tires are pretty decent, guys. They don't work bad at all. If you're into mud, I'm not 100% sure. They seem like they'd work well in mud, but I'm not a mud guy, so you're probably not going to see that on this channel. Maybe some snow, though, coming soon. Winter's coming, guys. Winter's coming. So we'll probably test out some snow running. Oh, over she goes. That actually, guys, for what it's worth, it was leaned over really far. That looked like a real easy tip over, but it was actually leaned over far. So don't judge it too harshly on that one. And that was a little bit of bad driving. I definitely could have avoided it. So we're rolling up to the end here, guys, doing a little more crawling over some of this concrete, as you see. And one thing I want to mention, guys, is that this, if you like this truck, the back half is going to be available on Thingiverse, and it's a perfect fitting setup for the TRX-4, guys. And I have, I'm posting 4 different lengths this time, so that you can situate the cab a little farther back if you want. I personally like this setup. But you know, a lot of the rigs, they sit the cab back farther. So I've got 3 options in addition to what you see here: 5, 10, and 15 millimeters farther back. So that's going to be posted on Thingiverse, and it gives you a lot of options for how you want this thing to be set up. The way it sits here, I got lucky, and it actually fits perfectly over the inner fenders that come with the TRX-4 Mercedes. So I left that alone. It seemed to me that that was probably a good thing. So the side panel that you see there, the end of it is in exactly the same spot with all the different versions, and it basically lets you install this cage with the inner fenders in place. If you take the inner fenders off, you have all kinds of options, obviously. And then in this truck, the deck is an old deck version. As you can see, it doesn't fit properly because I lengthened the cage. And I'm going to do up a new version of it, guys, that closes up the side all nice and neat. And probably the next time you see this truck, not the next video, but the one after, because the next video is already shot. But it'll have a new deck on it that fits a little bit nicer. So yeah, if you want to do this cage, guys, you can print it up and and get it going on your own there. And this is just the cheapo Endura body shell, but this cage should fit just about any truck cab. They're basically all the same because they're set up to fit that Proline body, guys. I also have a Proline compatible cage, or sorry, I have a Proline compatible roll bar. So if you have an existing truck and you're just in need of a back half, or you want to run a new back half, you can print this out and use that Proline roll bar, and it'll fit right on. It does look a little goofy, guys, because the mount points are just a little bit, I don't know what the right word is, they don't quite fit perfectly, guys. Well, I actually, yeah, you know what, maybe what I'll do is actually edit this roll cage a little bit and fix that problem, because I basically did that as a throw-in a while back and I procrastinated on it. Yeah, we'll see. Anyways, there is definitely a Proline compatible version, guys, so keep your eyes out for that if that's something you're interested in. Yeah, as you can see, this thing plows through just about anything, guys. These weeds are actually, I've said it many times, guys, they will reach out and grab you if you're not paying attention. And this version of the crawler is the most capable of white bar, guys. It's plowed through some stuff that I was pretty impressed. It's pretty solid, guys. It's heavy, guys. This thing is not light. It definitely helps with weeds like this stuff here, guys. When you got more weight, you get through a lot heavier undergrowth. This little spot right here, I mean, it made it look really easy there, guys. Other honchos that I've run would have struggled more, guys. 100%. That's where you see. It's one spot where you see this truck really shine. And how easy did it make that look, guys? That's that ground clearance. It's pretty solid, guys. I think here I'm going to climb over a little bit and then drop it in a second gear and bomb around a little bit here. Again, it makes this stuff look so easy, guys, but you know, if you're running an old SCX-10 type truck without portal axles, you know, a lot of this stuff it's just not this easy. You have to pick a line. You know, you can get over it, but you got to be a little more careful. You got to plan ahead, make sure those pumpkins don't get stuck. Yeah, this thing's sweet, guys. If you have some Redcat axles kicking around and you want a 2-speed transmission, this is definitely a project worth looking at. Check out my tech video on it. I go through the explanation in detail. There you see second gear, guys. It handles nice too, guys. Doesn't roll over that easy. And we're coming to the end. So thanks for tuning in. This is Wrench to Drive, where we ask the eternal question: do you drive to wrench, or do you wrench to drive? See you next time.